Let's discuss this and other developments coming through this afternoon. We're joined in studio by Newzroom Africa's politics editor, Lukhanyo Calata. So, Lukhanyo, this tectonic shift that we saw with regards to the Provincial Elective Conference, I guess it was always going to lead us to this moment. Firstly, what did you make of the tone of his address?
Well, I felt his tone was trying to calm this situation, because I think he understands, obviously, that it's more than just about him or the office of the Premier. So he's speaking more to the people of the province, where he's saying, okay, I am leaving, but it's okay. You know, I don't want to cause any further trouble. There are people that will come in and hopefully that will continue along the good path of governance that I had set since taking over office. You know, he mentioned something, for instance, that when he came in, there were only 2 departments that had clean audits. Now that he's leaving, there are 6. So he is trying to say, please guys, hold the fort, continue along this line. But he also does obviously not want to cause or to be a burden on the revolution, as he puts it.
Right, and he says you have to avoid becoming the issue of debate, but rather assist the movement in going forward. The ink is hardly dry, and already tomorrow there's an interview process that will be starting. Cadres Musa, Dube Ngubo, Amanda Bani, and Mbali Fraser are the names that have been submitted. A lot was said at the elective conference about the absence of female leaders within the party.
So, and I think that is what ANC KZN will try to do. Look, at this moment, Nomusa Dube Ngube is the forerunner. Remember, she is the current, I think, MEC for Finance in KZN. So she's the one that has got actual experience of being in cabinet. The others, Amanda Bani and Ms. Fraser, they're in the provincial legislature. So at least it will be people who understand how the provincial government works and who will be able to hit the ground running. I am going to put my head on the block and say that Nomusa Dube Ngube is most likely the candidate that they will go for.
Let's go back in time and talk about his rise to power. How did he get here?
Sihle, well, you know, he was part of the grouping that was, you know, with Abo Zweli. He was part of that, and he was seen to be, you know, a very good organizer. He was, I think, Treasurer or Secretary General before, and he was doing a, you know, he like a little energizer bunny for the movement within the within KZN. So when Abo Zweli then got elected and moved on to the national office and moved to Lutuli House, it was, you know, as part of that succession, he was seen as the leader of almost like the next generation coming through. And he, you know, as he said, that he was able to step into the office of Premier and leader of the organization and do good work for the organization as well as the provincial government down in KZN. But now, unfortunately, that has come to an end. And it's come to an end, you know, I mean, he tried to deny this issue that he was seen to be anti-Zuma. You know, he was, as you were saying earlier, that he wanted to make it to be known that he has actually been a supporter and a friend of former President Jacob Zuma, but it does seem that that may not necessarily be true.
Was there a need for him to, I guess maybe he wasn't even telling us, he was telling his constituents or his comrades that he is or has always been a supporter of the former president? How does he think? I know you're not his spokesperson by any stretch of the imagination, but that will help.
Look, it will help because remember, he's been there's this narrative around him, right, that he is more aligned to current ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa, and that he, as Zikalala, did not do enough to protect former President Jacob Zuma from the onslaught that is attributed to Ramaphosa on Zuma. So, so he's now obviously coming out, and you're right, he's not necessarily telling us, but he is telling those people on the ground and the branches and his supporters that he will probably now go back to say that, look, this narrative that has been painted about me, everything that you've heard being said about me is not actually true, because ultimately I am from this province. I grew up under former President Jacob Zuma, and I supported him. So it was more to his supporters that, he wants to make it clear that he is actually, with former President Jacob Zuma.
So that's on the resignation of Sihle Zikalala. Another big political development of the day, news coming out of Parliament. Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, the Speaker, actually confirming to the ATM that, wait, I have heard your request. So an independent panel will conduct preliminary assessments on the removal motion that was brought by the ATM. How should we understand this?
All right. So ATM, they say that the president had in essence violated his oath of office as prescribed under Section 89(1) of the Constitution. They're saying, the Constitution says that a serious violation of the Constitution or the law, serious misconduct, or inability to perform the functions of office. So ATM bases all of this on the Phala Phala investigation that the president is believed to have suppressed. Obviously, you know that there was a robbery at his farm in 2020. Multi-million US dollars were stolen. And then there's this allegation that the president had then tried to suppress this investigation for it not to become public, at least. So ATM then argues that because of those allegations, the president has violated his oath of office and therefore, should be impeached. So, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, the Speaker of the National Assembly, has now confirmed to him that yes, now that his motion is compliant with the rules of the National Assembly and, of course, the Constitution, that process will go forward, and it starts with the appointment of an independent panel. Very similar to the process that we saw with the public protector, Obusisiwe Mkhwebane. There will be this panel, 3-member panel, that will then investigate whether or not there is prima facie evidence that the president had actually violated his oath of office. It will then make recommendations to the National Assembly. Based on those recommendations, the Speaker will then decide whether or not to appoint a Section 89 committee that will then look at the removal of the president from office, otherwise known as an impeachment. We don't really use that word in the Constitution, but its effect is the same.
Various political formations that are represented in the National Assembly will then put names forward for this panel, but this panel must assess whether there is sufficient evidence that exists to show the president committed any of the violations specified in the motion. This word evidence, I'm stuck on it, because then how do you prove that, right? So the president has continually kept mum, saying the process is subject to X, Y, Z. The police will not make this information public. So this panel will have its work cut out for it. Is this the most effective tool to hold the president to account?
Well, it is, because that's the one that the Constitution provides. Right. So everything that's happening now is provided for in the Constitution. The panel, remember, because it is a parliamentary panel, it will have powers to subpoena. Right, and whether or not they will be able to subpoena some of the or whether they will subpoena some of the investigating officers in the Phala Phala investigation is up to them. But for them to gather all of that evidence, they will have the power to subpoena, and then we'll see, based on everything that they gather, whether or not they feel that there is enough for this matter to go forward. But I mean, the nomination of the names is a process that will only start in September. And whether or not this process will get underway this year, I doubt. But, this is what the president is currently facing. We spoke to his spokesperson a little bit earlier on, who said, look, the matter is a parliamentary process, and they will allow, obviously, their process to unfold.
I do wonder if this is his official Twitter account, because on this Twitter account with his name, he's following 66 people, he's got over 6,000 followers. It says, with two parallel investigations underway, one by the public protector and the other by the Hawks, opposition parties are in a puzzling, frantic rush to undermine these investigations and continue to tarnish the president's name without a shred of proof. This is an account that is credited to Mr. Magwenya. It's not verified, so can't really vouch for it.
No, our colleague Ati Ntongana is actually working on that story, and I think we did get a comment from Vincent Magwenya, the president's spokesperson, on exactly that tweet. I think we will have a little bit more as the day unfolds. Yeah. Oh, okay. So I'm hearing that we do have that bite from Vincent Magwenya. Let's take a listen as to what he had to say about it.
Well, the presidency is in receipt of the letter from the Speaker advising of the process that will lead into a panel that will reassess the relevance or the necessity of investigating the ATM motion. It's a parliamentary process that the President will respect and fully cooperate with, and will await the unfolding of that process and its conclusion.
As all of us will be awaiting with bated breath. Lukhanyo, Calata, Newzroom Afrika's politics editor. Thank you.
Thank you.